Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We recall that the last class we had, it was a discussion about the last moments of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam with her. The very last moment the Prophet spent on the surface of the earth. Radiallahu anha, she told us about it. She said, توفي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في بيتي وفي يومي وليلتي وبين سحري ونحري. Āishah said, radiallahu anha, the Prophet passed away في بيتي, in my apartment, وفي يومي وليلتي, and on my day and night. The day he was to stay with me and the night he was to spend with me was the very night that he passed away. Alayhi salatu wassalam. And that happened fi bayti, in my apartment. وَبَيْنَ ثَحْرِي وَنَحْرِي, between my bosom and my upper chest area. Between my sahar and my nahar. The nahar is the neck area, below the neck, around the chest. That is the nahar. Below the neck, over the chest. The Prophet was leaning on her, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he passed away. She told us about those last moments. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr, the brother of Āishah, he saw him holding a chewing stick. And then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam went on looking at it. And our mother Āishah said, فَنَظَرَ إِلَيْهِ حَتَّى ظَنَنْتُ أَنَّهُ يُرِيدُهُ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was looking at the chewing stick until I felt perhaps he wanted it. Alayhi salatu wasalam. That occurs on page 189. That occurs on page 189. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَقُلْتُ أَخُذُهُ لَكَ, should I collect it and give it to you? فَأَشَارَ بِرَأْسِهِ أَنْ نَعَمْ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gestured with his head saying, yes. She said, فَتَنَاوَلْتُهُ فَاشْتَدَّ عَلَيْهِ. She said, I collected it and I gave it to him. فَاشْتَدَّ عَلَيْهِ. But it was tough for him to bite and chew. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We knew that it was the time of death. So it was as if, alayhi salatu wasalam, he was already weak. She said, وَقُلْتُ أُلَيِّنُهُ لَكَ, should I chew it and make it soft for you? فَأَشَارَ بِرَأْسِهِ النَّعْمِ. The Prophet said yes. He gestured with his head and said yes. She said, فَلَيَّنْتُهُ. So I made it soft for him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She said, فَمَضَغْتُهُ, as we have on page 189, فَمَضَغْتُهُ وَنَفَضْتُهُ وَطَيَّبْتُهُ. So I chewed it and I made it soft, spread it, وَطَيَّبْتُهُ, and I made it clean. ثُمَّ دَفَعْتُهُ إِلَيْهِ. Then I gave it to him, alayhi salatu wasalam. فَاسْتَنَّ بِهِ كَأَحْسَنِ مَا رَأَيْتُهُ مُسْتَنًّا قَطُّ. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam chewed the stick, he cleansed his teeth. استنى به. He employed the chewing stick to clean his teeth. كَأَحْسَنِ مَا رَأَيْتُهُ مُسْتَنًّا قَطُّ. The best of the manners that I had ever seen him cleaning his mouth. So from the last things the Prophet did in this dunya, alayhi salatu wasalam, was to rinse his mouth. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She said, ثُمَّ ذَهَبَ يَرْفَعُهُ إِلَيَّ. Then he went to raise it, to return the chewing stick to me. فَسَقَطَتْ يَدُهُ. but his hands dropped. Alayhi salatu wassalam. He said, فَأَخَذْتُ أَدْعُو لَهُ بِدُعَاءٍ كَانَ يَدْعُو بِهِ لَهُ جِبْرِيلٌ فَأَخَذْتُ أَدْعُو لَهُ بِدُعَاءٍ كَانَ يَدْعُو بِهِ لَهُ جِبْرِيلٌ. I went on to make the dua. أَخَذْتُ أَدْعُو لَهُ. I continued to pray for him, بِدُعَاءٍ, and I was employing a particular expression. كَانَ يَدْعُو بِهِ لَهُ جِبْرِيلٌ. Jibril used to employ those expressions to make dua for him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. At question time last week, someone asked what was that dua. That occurs in another hadith of Āishah radiyallahu anha when she said, Kana idha ishtaka Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Whenever the Prophet fell ill or took ill, alayhi salatu wassalam, raqa'u Jibril alayhi salam. So it was a common thing. إِذَا اشْتَكَى كَانَ إِذَا اشْتَكَى رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ رَقَاهُ جِبْرِيلٌ. Whenever the Prophet took ill, Jibril will read these expressions to him to seek cure for him. What was it? Bismillah yubrik. This question was asked in the last class, and this is the answer to it. The dua that Jibril always said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam by means of seeking cure was to say Bismillah yubrik wa min kulli da'in yashfik wa min sharri hasidin idha hasada wa sharri kulli dhi aynin. Bismillah yubrik wa min kulli da'in yashfik ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد وشر كل ذي عين. The Prophet would say, Jibril alayhi salam will say to the Prophet alayhi salatu salam, Bismillah yudrik. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yudrik, Allah will bring you cure. ومن كل داء, and from every kind of illness that you have, yashfik, Allah would provide you cure. He will provide you sound health. وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. Likewise, Allah will provide you cure from the evil of the envious when he becomes envious. وَشَرِّ كُلِّ ذِي عَيْنٍ. And the evil from every person with an eye that afflicts the next person. So you can see this dua is all encompassing. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا اشْتَكَى رَقَاهُ Jibril. Whenever he took ill, Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam would come and make ruqya for him. He would say, Bismillah yubrik, wa min kulli da'in yashfik, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad, وشر كل ذي عين. بسم الله يبريك ومن كل داء يشفيك ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد وشر كل ذي عين. We can say that to our children. We can say that to our husbands. We can say that to our wives. We can say that to people we visit when they are ill. Why? That was the dua Jibril alayhi salam would say whenever the Prophet took ill and Jibril came, he would say, Bismillah yubrik, wa min kulli da'in yashfik, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad, wa sharri kulli dhi aynin. Bismillah yubrik, wa min kulli da'in yashfik, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad, wa sharri kulli dhi aynin. So Āishah said, I began to say this dua for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَكَانَ هُوَ يَدْعُو بِهِ إِذَا مَرِضَ. So the Prophet used to say this to himself whenever he was ill. فَلَمْ يَدْعُ بِهِ فِي مَرَضِهِ ذَاكِ. But he did not say it to himself in the illness in which or from which he passed away. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In another report in Sunan al-Nasa'i, our mother said, وَوَجَدْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ يَسْكُلُ فِي حِجْرِي. I suddenly found that the Prophet became heavy on my chest. He was leaning on her, and suddenly, after he dropped the chewing stick, his hands dropped. She was making dua, making dua, making dua. And as she was making dua, وجدت أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يثقل في حجرها. She found that the Prophet was becoming heavy on her body. فذهبت أنظر في وجهه. I went on to start looking at the face of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Back to our report, she said, فَرَفَعَ بَصَرَهُ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. The Prophet now raised his sight in the direction of the heavens. وَقَالَ, and he said, الرَّفِيقَ الْأَعْلَى, الرَّفِيقَ الْأَعْلَى. In another report in the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad, what the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam was, أسأل الله الرفيق الأعلى, أسأل الله الرفيق الأعلى. I ask Allah for the most exalted company, Al-As'ad, the most successful company, مع جبريل وميكال وإسرافيل, along with Jibril and Mikael and Israfil. So the last words of the Prophet was, أسأل الله الرفيق الأعلى الأسعد مع جبريل وميكال وإسرافيل. أسأل الله الرفيق الأعلى الأسعد مع جبريل وميكال وإسرافيل. These were the last words of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. Āishah said, وَفَاضَتْ نَفْسُهُ, and his life, his soul went away, alayhi salatu wasalam. فَاضَتْ نَفْسُهُ, and his soul passed away, alayhi salatu wasalam. She now said, فَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي جَمَعَ بَيْنَ رِيقِي وَرِيقِهِ فِي آخِرِ يَوْمٍ مِّنَ الدُّنْيَا. All praise belong to Allah. الَّذِي جَمَعَ بَيْنَ رِيقِي وَرِيقِهِ, who has combined Riqi, my spit, wa Riqihi, and the spit of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, fi akhiri yawmin min ad-dunya, on the last of his days in this dunya. Radiyallahu anha. This was what we read in the last class on page 190. On the next page, 190. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, rahimahullah, هذا حديث صحيح. The hadith we just read is an authentic hadith. The hadith is variously reported in the books of hadith. It occurs in Sahih al-Bukhari. It occurs in Sahih Muslim. It occurs in other books of hadith, in the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad, in the Sunan of Al-Imam Al-Nasa'i. But we mentioned to us in the last class that Al-Imam Al-Nasa'i has an entire book on it. He titled Kitabu Wafatin Nabi, a book regarding the narrations about Wafatin Nabi, the passing away of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Continuing the class today, another narration from the reports from Āishah and about her we shall read occurs on page 190 of this print, the print of Mu'assasatul Risala, that has the forward, the taqdeem of Dr. Bashar Awad Ma'ruf. That will be volume 2 of that copy, the second volume of Mu'assasatul Risala, volume 2, page 190. In it, Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi, he said, rahimahullah, Umar ibn Sa'id ibn Abi Hussein, Umar ibn Sa'id ibn Abi Hussein, قال حدثنا ابن أبي مليكة. So this report occurs from Ibn Abi Mulaika, Abdullah ibn Ubaidillah ibn Abi Mulaika, who said, حدثني أبو عمرو ذكوان مولى عائشة رضي الله عنها. Ibn Abi Mulaika reports from Zakwan. We have repeatedly also mentioned Zakwan Mawla Āishah. Āishah had a freed slave whose name was what? Zakwan. We remember when Abdullah ibn Abbas came to visit her while she was ill. The person who was there with her was Zakwan, together with Abdullah, the son of Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq. So this Zakwan, he was a freed slave of our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha. He was the one who reported that قدم درج من العراق قدم درج من العراق فيه جوهر إلى عمر قدم درج من العراق. A box. The duruj is a container where women place their personal effects. Women used to have some small container, like the kind of jewelry boxes today. That kind of a small bag. It will have her perfume if she uses perfume at home. It may have a comb. It may have a kuhl. It may have her rings. It may have her necklace. That's kind of a container where women put things like that. It may be in the position of a handbag today or of a jewelry box today for women. It used to be referred to as what? Duruj. Ikhwa, let us know it. Some men make a fun of their wives for things like this. The wives of the Prophet had things where they place their personal effects. It used to be called what? Duruj. So Zakwan said, قَدِمَ دُرُجٌ مِنَ الْإِرَاقِ. That kind of a container arrived from Iraq. فِيهِ جَوْهَرٌ. It was containing jewelries. It was containing fine stones. إِلَى Umar. They arrived to Umar, perhaps in Medina. فَقَالَ لِأَصْحَابِهِ تَدْرُونَ مَا ثَمَنُهُ. Umar radiyallahu anhu asked the people who were with him, تَدْرُونَ مَا ثَمَنُهُ. Do you know the value of this? Do you know the cost of this? قَالُوا لَا. They say, we don't know. وَلَمْ يَدْرُوا كَيْفَ يَقْسِمُونَهُ. لَمْ يَدْرُوا كَيْفَ يَقْسِمُونَهُ. They did not also know how to distribute the content of that duruj. فَقَالْ. Umar then said, radiyallahu anhu, أَتَأْذَنُونَ أَنْ أُرْسِلَ بِهِ إِلَى عَائِشَةَ. Do you all permit me that I should send this box, this container of valuable jewelries? Do you all allow me? I should send it to Āishah. لِحُبِّ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ إِيَّاهَا. Because of the love of the Prophet for her. So Āishah used to be respected. We mentioned something similar about Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. We mentioned something similar to that from Abdullah ibn Zubayr. The companions used to deliberately send huge gifts to Āishah because of her position with the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Don't forget that even when the Prophet was alive, they used to specifically provide gifts to the family on the days of Āishah radiyallahu anha. So Umar asked the people as is in this report, أَتَأْذَنُونَ أَنْ أُرْسِلَ بِهِ إِلَى عَائِشَةَ. Do you permit me that I should send it to Āishah? Why? لِحُبِّ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ إِيَّاهَا. Because of the Prophet's love for her. قَالُوا نَعَمْ. They all said, yes, we agree, we permit it. فَبَعَثَ بِهِ إِلَيْهَا. So Umar radiyallahu anhu sent someone to take it to her radiyallahu anha. فَقَالَتْ. When it got to her, she said, ماذا فتح على ابن الخطاب بعد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Which places, which locations, which regions again have Umar ibn al-Khattab been given victory over? What are the futuhat? Has Umar ibn al-Khattab gotten other places, other regions under Islam, because it is when they have futuhat, when they have victories over people. Of course, they have booties too. Perhaps that container was one of the war booties that was returned to Amirul Mu'minin so that he could distribute it as he deems fit. Radiyallahu anhu. So when it came to her, she said, Mada futiha ala ibn al-Khattab ba'da Rasulillah alayhi salat. What is it again that has been granted Umar ibn al-Khattab as a victory? He said, radiyallahu anha, Allahumma la tubqini li'atiyatihi liqabilin. Allahumma la tubqini li'atiyatihi liqabil. Oh Allah, don't let me remain for another time in the future when Umar will send me gift again. Umar, oh Allah, don't let it be that I'll be alive. Let me go. Radiyallahu anha. In the narration, in the line that followed it, Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Hada mursalun. This report is mursal, meaning that it is munqati. It has a broken chain and it is weak and cannot be depended on as evidence. Why? Because Zakwan, Mawla Āishah, he did not meet Umar alive. But he heard it through a source that is not known. So between Zakwan and Umar, there's a broken chain. That's why he said, Hada mursalun. Irsal here does not refer to riwayat tabi'i an Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Musnadan. It's not talking about a tabi'i mentioning the Prophet alayhi salatu salam. No. It is talking about sanadun munqati'un. And lugatan al-inqita'u is also meaning al-irsal. So there's a broken chain here. The other report that follows that on page 190, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, وَأَخْرَجَ الْحَاكِمُ فِي مُسْتَدْرَكِهِ مِنْ طَرِيقِ يَحْيَى بْنِ سَعِيدٍ الْأُمَوِي حدثنا أبو العنبس سعيد بن كثير عن أبيه قال حدثتنا عائشة أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ذكر فاطمة قالت فتكلمت أنا فقال أما ترضين أن تكوني زوجتي في الدنيا والآخرة قلت بلى والله قال فأنت زوجتي في الدنيا والآخرة رضي الله عنها. This second report from Al-Imam Hakim in his Mustadrak was from the isnad of Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Umawi Abu Umar. Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Umawi Abu Umar. He said, Haddathana Abu al-Ambas Sa'id ibn Kathir. That is Sa'id ibn Kathir ibn Ubaid al-Kufi. He said, An Abihi. That is Kathir ibn Sa'id, who now said, Haddathatna Āishah. Āishah narrated to us that Anna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Zakara Fatima. The Prophet mentioned Fatima alayhi salatu wasalam. Perhaps the Prophet had mentioned Fatima, praising her and talking about her positively. He said, Fatakallamtu ana. When the Prophet praised and spoke about Fatima, then I spoke. Allahu alam. From the way this report appears, it appears that our mother Āishah was a bit jealous because of the things that the Prophet mentioned about Fatima. That was why she said, Zakara Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Fatima. The Prophet mentioned Fatima. Fatakallamtu ana. Then I began to talk for call. Then the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, Amma ترضين أن تكوني زوجتي في الدنيا والآخرة. Are you not pleased that you are my wife في الدنيا والآخرة, in this world and in the hereafter? Meaning that if I'm praising my daughter, you are wife, we would have understood from the entirety of what we had read that one major thing about our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha was that she was like other women. What was that? Jealous a lot. Radiyallahu anha. Our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha was like the rest of the women. Why? Why did we say that? She used to jealous like women become jealous. It is normal for women to be jealous. The scholars spoke about this a lot, and we read a lot about that when we were studying about her relationship with Khadija. We remembered reading the statements of Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar when our mother Āishah used to be jealous because Khadija was mentioned. Ibn Hajar said, Rahimahullah, fihi thubutu al-ghirati. This shows that gira is real. وأنها غير مستنكر وقوعها من فاضلات النساء وأنها غير مستنكر وقوعها من فاضلات النساء, and that غير, jealousy غير مستنكر وقوعها, it's not something we should condemn that it has happened min fadilat nisa, amongst women who are honorable. Don't condemn it. Don't find it strange. It is not strange that it has happened amongst honorable women. Fadlan amman dunahunna. Not to now talk of women who are of less value. You will always see jealousy amongst women of honor. Don't be surprised that you see women of honor becoming jealous. Women can be jealous. Āishah radiyallahu anha was jealous radiyallahu anha regarding Khadija. And she used to say it, radiyallahu anha, that ma girtu ala imra'atin ma girtu ala Khadija. I never used to be jealous regarding a woman the way I was jealous over the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Regarding who? Khadija. In this case, it was Fatima radiyallahu anha that the Prophet was talking about. Our mother Āishah said, Fatakallamtu ana. So when he was talking about Fatima, I began to talk. Then the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, Ama tarudayna an takuni zawjati fi dunya wal akhirah. Are you not pleased that you are my wife in this world and the hereafter? Qultu bala wallahi. I said, Messenger of Allah, bala. I am pleased. I am pleased, wallahi. I even swear by Allah. This is evidence that our mother Āishah, she is the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this dunya, and she will be radiyallahu anha amongst his wives in the akhirah. We have read a number of reports regarding this. What does that mean? That is a refutation for the Shia who believe that she became something else when the Prophet died. This is a refutation for them. If she was going to be, and she is, radiyallahu anha, his wife in this dunya, and she will be his wife in the akhirah, the hereafter, it meant that she was upon what the Prophet left her upon, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa ma baddalu tabdila. It did not change in any bit, radiyallahu anhunna. The other narration we read in page 190. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, that's in the last paragraph of that page. Ismail ibn Abi Khalid, أخبرنا عبد الرحمن ibn الضحاك أن عبد الله ibn صفوان أتى عائشة رضي الله عنها فقالت لي خلال 9 لم تكن لأحد إلا ما آتى الله مريم عليها السلام والله ما أقول هذا فخرا على صواحبي رضي الله عنها. Ismail ibn Abi Khalid said that Abdurrahman ibn al-Tahaq narrated to them that Abdullah ibn Safwan was from amongst the Tabi'un. Abdullah ibn Safwan, he was the one who reported that He came to Āishah radiyallahu anha. فقالت, Āishah said radiyallahu anha, li khilalun tis'un. I have 9 traits. I have 9 traits, 9 issues, 9 attributes. Lam takun li ahadin. These 9 attributes do not combine in anybody. Illa ma atallahu Maryama. Except for those other attributes that Allah gave Maryam. But as for these 9 attributes, they are very, very, very excellent and full of virtues. Except those other virtues that Allah gave to Maryam. Alayha salam. Wallahi, Āishah said, I swear by Allah, ma aqulu hadha fakhran ala sawahibati. Ma aqulu hadha fakhran ala sawahibati. I am not saying it. Sawahibat is the plural of sahiba. Sawahibati. I'm not saying it out of pride. Fakhran ala sawahibati. I'm not saying it out of pride over the rest of my co-wives. Not out of pride. I'm just saying what Allah has blessed me with. Radiyallahu anha. Faqala Safwan. So Safwan. Faqala ibn Safwan. So Abdullah ibn Safwan, who was with her, now asked her, وَمَا هُنَّ. What are they, O Āishah? Radiyallahu anha. What are those things, those 9 things with which Allah has favored you? Except those favors that Allah gave to who? Maryam. Otherwise, these 9 favors, Radiyallahu anha, she said, Lam takun li ahadin. It is not for anybody. Radiyallahu anha. Wa wallahi ma akulu hadha fakhran. I'm not saying this out of pride. So it means sometimes a person can mention the virtues, that blessings that Allah has given to her, especially when she feels safe. If you feel safe with the person you are talking to, you can mention some things by which Allah has favored you. That will come under that verse in Surah Ad-Duha. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. As for the favors that Allah has given you, then say it. In fact, one of the scholars, Al-Imām As-Suyūṭī rahimahullah, one of the authors of that tafsir we call Al-Jalalayn, Tafsir Al-Jalalayn, Al-Imām Jalaluddin As-Suyūṭī Al-Misri rahimahullah. He has many books. One of the books he wrote, he titled it At-Tahaddusu bi Ni'amillahi, talking about the favors of Allah. That book was his own biography. He wrote about his own life. And he was mentioning the favors of Allah on him. And Allah really favored Al-Imām As-Suyūṭī. There is hardly any field of knowledge that he did not author a book about. He authored books on Nahu. He authored books on Sarf. He authored books on Al-Balagha. He authored books on At-Tarikh. He authored books on Fadail al-Sahaba. He authored books on Ilm Mustalah al-Hadith, like Tadrib al-Rawi that we read was from Al-Imām As-Suyūṭī. He has an Alfiya fi Ilm al-Hadith, Alfiya al-Suyūṭī fi Ilm al-Hadith. He has, there's almost any branch of knowledge he did not write about. He had Al-Itqān fi Ulūm al-Qur'an in 2 big volumes, one of the best books on Ulūm al-Qur'an. He wrote a tafsir, apart from Al-Jalalayn, that he co-authored with another from among the Imams from the Mufassirun. So he called the book he wrote about himself, he was talking about the favors of Allah on him. He titled the book At-Tahaddusu bi Ni'amillah or bi Ni'matillah, talking about Allah's favors on you. So this report from Āishah is from that meaning. She was talking about the favors of Allah upon her. She wanted to say, radiyallahu anha, these 9 things, lam takun li ahadin. They did not gather in a single person. And I'm not mentioning them. Wallahi ma aqulu hadha fakhran ala sawahibati. I'm not saying it out of pride I'm not saying it out of arrogance. I'm not saying it feeling superior. I'm just saying, mentioning some good things, favors, blessings that Allah has given me, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we say that it is lawful to do things like that at the time when we feel safe, especially when there's need for it. Or we want people to recognize some things that they may not recognize, and the like of that. It is allowed for us. So Abdullah ibn Safwan asked her, وَمَا هُنَّ? What are those 9 things? Aisha said, رضي الله عنها, جاء الملك بصورتي إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فتزوجني. جاء الملك, an angel came with بصورتي, my image, إلى رسول الله, to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. فتزوجني, and the Prophet married me. We understand this from what she said, رضي الله عنها. And the Prophet also told her too, that أريتك في المنام ثلاث ليال, I saw you in my dream 3 nights. رضي الله عنها. جاء بك الملك, an angel came with you في ثرقة من حرير, like covering you up in a material, in a silk material. The angel brought Aisha to the Prophet to see in his dream, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, on 3 different nights before he married her. Do we understand? The Prophet was sleeping and Aisha was brought to him in the dream. And in the dream, she was covered in saraqatin min harir. She was covered in a piece of cloth made up of silk. Fayaqul, that angel will say, Hadihi imra'atuka, this will be your wife. The Prophet says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when I open the cloths, I now see that it was Aisha. Aisha mentions that as a favor from Allah to her, radiyallahu anha. He said, Ja'al malaku bisurati ila rasulillah. An angel came, alayhi salatu wasalam, with an image of me to the Prophet. How? In the dream of the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Fatazawwajani. And as a result of that, the Prophet married me, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The second thing she mentioned, she said, Watazawwajani bikra. We are reading from page 199, the second line. Watazawwajani bikra. And then the Prophet married me as a virgin. Radiyallahu anha. She was the only wife the Prophet married as a virgin. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When the Prophet married Khadija, she was a previously married woman who became free. The Prophet married her, alayhi salatu wasalam. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam married Sauda, Safiya, Zainab bint Jahash, Juwairiya, and many others, they were people who were married to men before the Prophet married them in the various circumstances. Hafsa radiallahu anha, they were all previously married. As for Aisha, she was the only young virgin girl that he married, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Aisha counts it as a favor for her from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She said, وَكَانَ يَأْتِيهِ الْوَحْيُ. The third thing, a revelation was coming to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَأَنَا وَهُوَ فِي لِحَافٍ. وَأَنَا وَهُوَ فِي لِحَافٍ يَأْتِيهِ الْوَحْيُ. Revelation was coming down to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The Prophet was receiving revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa ana wa huwa fi lihaf. And me and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will be under one single cover cloth, one single blanket. As a man would be under a blanket with his wife, I would be like that. And then the Prophet was receiving revelation. be married as a virgin. Young girls, hear this. Don't let social media deceive you. If Āishah radiallahu anha is proud, she's happy, she's glad. She feels that it's a favor of Allah to be married to her and that she was married to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam as a virgin girl. It is a virtue to be married as a virgin. Āishah counts it radiallahu anha as a favor from Allah. Some women don't become married as virgins for so many reasons. So many reasons. But what we will say regarding that is that be chaste. Oh, young girl, be chaste. Be chaste. Don't trade off your chastity. And don't let the social media deceive you. It pays to be chaste. And it is honorable to be chaste. And it's the thing of virtue that when your husband marries you, he marries you as a chaste girl. No man ever touched you before. It means you are a chaste person, honorable. Āishah radiallahu anha said, what does a wajani bikra? When the Prophet married me, alayhi salatu wasalam, I was a virgin. This is not talking about women who were previously married who got divorced. This is not what we are talking about. We are not talking about women who were previously married and their husbands died. We are talking about young girls who have not married at all, who think that there is no value remaining chaste as a young virgin girl before marriage. They are the ones we are telling, be chaste. So everybody should be chaste. This is now a general statement. May Allah protect us. So it was a virtue, it was a value, it was an excellence for Āishah to have been married when she was still a young virgin girl. Radiyallahu anha. وَكَانَ يَأْتِيهِ الْوَحْيُ وَأَنَا وَهُوَ فِي لِحَافٍ. She mentioned another virtue. Wahyu, revelation, will come to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَأَنَا وَهُوَ فِي لِحَافٍ. And I and him will be under the blanket. Radiyallahu anha. She mentioned another virtue. She said, وَكُنْتُ مِنْ أَحَبِّ النَّاسِ إِلَيْهِ وَكُنْتُ مِنْ أَحَبِّ النَّاسِ إِلَيْهِ. Another virtue by which Allah blessed me and favored me is that وَأَنَا أَحَبُّ مِنْ أَحَبِّ النَّاسِ إِلَيْهِ. And I am from the most beloved human beings to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Why did she say that? She knew that the Prophet loved Khadija radiyallahu anha. She knew that the Prophet loved Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. But she knew that the Prophet loved her too. So she didn't say wa anna ahabbu nas, la. Because ahabbu nas, there was Abu Bakr, there's Khadija. So she couldn't put herself in front. So she said wa ana wa kuntu min ahabbi nasi ilay. And I was amongst the most beloved people to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If the Prophet loves you, wallahi, Allah loves you. If the Prophet loves you, Allah loves you. So it means Āishah min ahabbi nasi ilallah. From the most beloved people to Allah was who? Āishah radiyallahu anha. And because Allah loved the Prophet so much, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah will not give his prophet somebody that he hates. Allah will give his beloved prophet someone that he likes. So he gave the prophet, he gave him Āishah radiyallahu anha. We are saying this as refutation to the Shia. May Allah protect us from their evils. She went on to mention those virtues for which Allah has favored her. She said, وَنَزَلَ فِيَّ آيَاتٌ كَادَتْ الْأُمَّةُ تَهْلِكُ فِيهَا. نَزَلَتْ فِيَّ آيَاتٌ. Verses of the Quran came down regarding me. radiyallahu anha. كَادَتْ الْأُمَّةُ تَهْلِكُ فِيهَا. كَادَتْ الْأُمَّةُ تَهْلِكُ فِيهَا. The entirety of the Ummah almost got into destruction because of those verses. And that has to do with the evil of the ifk, when she was blasphemed, when she was slandered. Radiyallahu anha. When evil lies was spread about her, Allah sent down the verses of the Quran, asking the Muslims, why did you not say this? Why did you not say this? Inna alladhina ja'u bil ifki usbatun minkum la tahsabuhu Sharrun lakum bal huwa khairul lakum, and so on. Almost 13 verses were revealed regarding her. Can you imagine how lovely you are before Allah? People told lies about you, and Allah revealed verses, 13 verses to say that you are upon truth. Is that a favor of Allah upon you or not? It's a big, big, big favor of Allah upon you. Radiyallahu anha. She mentioned it. She also said, Radiyallahu anha, وَرَأَيْتُ جِبْرِيلَ وَلَمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ مِّن نِّسَائِهِ غَيْرِي رَأَيْتُ جِبْرِيلَ. I saw Jibreel. Āishah said, I saw Jibreel. Yes, Jibreel also used to say taslim to Khadija at the beginning. He will come, even to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Khadija is bringing some food to you. When she comes, tell her that I am saying taslim to her. So Jibreel sent taslim to Khadija. Khadija was not there. And many occasions too, Jibreel will come, alayhi salam, and Āishah would not see him. But she said, I saw him on an occasion. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Jibreel came to visit him. Āishah said, وَرَأَيْتُ جِبْرِيلَ. I saw Jibreel. وَلَمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ مِّن نِّسَائِهِ غَيْرِي. No one of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ever saw Jibreel. I saw Jibreel. Āishah said she saw Jibreel. And this hadith, it occurs in the Mustadrak of Al-Imam Hakim. وَصَحَحَهُ الْحَاكِمُ. And Al-Imam Hakim grades it sahih. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because Āishah said, رَأَيْتُ جِبْرِيلَ. I saw Jibreel. وَلَمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ مِّن نِّسَائِهِ غَيْرِهِ. And no one min nisa'ihi, amongst the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saw Jibreel غَيْرِي, apart from me. Radiyallahu anha. The other thing she also mentioned, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَقُبِضَ فِي بَيْتِ. Radiyallahu anha. Āishah. She said, وَقُبِضَ فِي بَيْتِ. He was taken away. The Prophet passed away. فِي بَيْتِ. Inside my room. Radiyallahu anha. It was the last hadith we just read. She said, Radiyallahu anha, توفي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في بيتي وفي يومي وليلتي وبين سحري ونحري. He said the Prophet passed away sallallahu alaihi wasallam. في بيتي, in my room. وفي يومي وليلتي, on the day and night he was going to spend with me. وبين سحري ونحري, and between my chest and my upper neck he was resting. He passed on top my chest. Radiyallahu anha, leaning on me, alayhi salatu wassalam. وَقُبِضَ فِي بَيْتِ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam passed away in my room. Alayhi salatu wassalam. She also said, radiyallahu anha, لَمْ يَلِهِ أَحَدٌ غَيْرُ الْمَلَكِ إِلَّا أَنَا. Nobody was close to him when he was dying except me. The closest person to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he was passing away, apart from the angel who actually took his life, was me. Radiyallahu anha. Don't forget that in the previous report that we just read, she said, فَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي جَمَعَ بَيْنَ رِيكِ وَرِيكِهِ فِي آخِرِ يَوْمِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. I thank Allah. The last thing that went into the mouth of the Prophet was a twin stick, and my speech was in that twin stick. So Allah combined between his own speech and my speech. That was the last thing he placed in his mouth, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, on his last day in this dunya. Radiyallahu anha, he said, with these things, they are the things of favor that Allah gave to me. She mentioned them in that hadith by Abdullah ibn Safwan, Abu Safwan al-Makki, rahimahullah. We can continue briefly, quickly. Let me read the next report. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Al-Awwam ibn Hawshab is the report of Al-Awwam ibn Hawshab and Sa'id ibn Jubayr and Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma Al-Awwam ibn Hawshab, that was Abu Isa al-Shaybani. He was reporting from Sa'id ibn Jubayr. We know him, a well-known student of Abdullah ibn Abbas. That Abdullah ibn Abbas explained that inna alladhina yarmuna al-muhsanat, when Allah said those who falsely accuse chaste Muslim women, this verse in Surah An-Nur, verse 23, Abdullah ibn Abbas said, radiyallahu anhuma, nazalat fi Āishah khafata, radiyallahu anha. This verse came down regarding Āishah specifically. Why? When the verse was coming down, the person who was falsely accused, regarding whom Allah was declaring innocence, that this person is innocent, was who? Āishah. The scholars of tafsir, the scholars of hadith, and the scholars of usul al-fiqh, they have a qaida. They say that sababun nuzul fi qat'iyyati ad-dukhul la yukharrijuhu mukharrijun. Sababun nuzul, the reason, the circumstance leading to the revelation of a verse, fi qat'iyyati ad-dukhul, it's absolutely in the ruling regarding that verse. So it's like saying it was Āishah who was being falsely accused. So when Allah said in this verse that inna alladhina yarmuna al-muhsanat, those who insult and falsely accuse chaste Muslim women, who were those that the Quran was referring to as chaste Muslim women? The first of them was who? Āishah. Why? Because it was fiha nazalatil ayah. The verse came down regarding her when Allah vouchsafed her, declared her innocent of the evil slander of the munafiqun and those who became weak at that moment amongst the people of Iman. Ibn Abbas said, nazalat fi Āishata khasata. This verse, nazalat fi Āishah, it came down regarding Āishah khasata, specifically. So al-muhsanat, as far as this verse was concerned, the first of them in this verse was who? Āishah radiyallahu anha. I think we can stop our reading here. Bi-idhnillah, we'll continue from here, page 191, in our next class regarding our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha. We have a few pages, about 5 or 6 pages, inshallah, to end our reading regarding Āishah. And before we completely end the reading, we will tell us the next book we'll be studying, inshallah. May Allah grant us success, grant us His tawfiq, make us be good followers for our salaf, make us be good from amongst the people of Iman, grant us ease, O Allah, in our affairs, make us better men, make us better women to our homes, to our children, to our wives, to our family, to our community. Forgive us our shortcomings, O Allah. And whenever we meet you, make it be that you are pleased with us. I think we can stop there today, bismillah, and take the few questions that we may have. I don't know who is in touch. Abu Amir.
Jazakumullah khairan ya Shaykhana.
Amin wa iyyakum Abū Abdurraūf. Naam.
And the first question here is, please, sir, is it allowed to use camel milk and urine for treatment of illness? Jazakumullah khair.
Amin wa iyyakum. Make sure it is the milk of camel, and make sure that it is the urine of camel. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used it to treat people. The milk of camel and the urine of camel. Be sure that that urine is a purely collected, well collected urine of camels. It is a means of illness. It is not najasa. The physics and the urine of animals that we domesticate, they are not najis. They are not najasa. But specifically, the urine of camels and the milk of camels, they are means of illness. The hadith occurs in Sahih Muslim and in Sahih Bukhari too, from hadith of Abu Huraira And that is the hadith of Oraniyin, if I remember their name vividly. Those who came to ask the Prophet ﷺ to send them scholars who would teach them the Quran and the Deen. And so on. They stayed in Medina for some days. They were lean, they were hungry, they fell ill. What the Prophet gave them as a means of cure, well, was the milk and the urine from camels. I hope that is clear. But you can find out, read about it more. But be sure that the urine was properly collected from camels and that the milk was properly collected also from camels that are healthy, bismillah. They are a means of cure for us as it's established in the books of Sunnah. نعم أبا عبد الرحمن.
جزاكم الله خير يا شيخ.
آمين آمين آمين.
This one says, Assalamu alaikum. Please, how can an average working class wife with a low practicing husband struggling to earn make our children to become people of knowledge and devoted Muslims?
One of the things you can do is live near a learned person. Choose a house. The next time you are choosing a residence, live near a learned person. If you live near a learned person, his knowledge will spread to your house. He will teach maybe in the masjid or nearby, and your children will be attending his lessons. He will be guiding your children. He will see them. He will be talking to them. These days, we like to take our children to London and UK and in other parts of the world, US, because we want them to live like those people, to be like those people. So if you want your children to be scholars and you don't have the money to take them now to a far place or even a near place where they can learn properly, go and look for a house near a learned person. There were people who did that. The mother of Al-Imam Shafi'i went to the village to live in the village because she wanted Al-Imam Shafi'i to learn Arabic grammar from the source. The father of Al-Imam Sakhawi went to take residence near Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar because he wants his child to be a scholar like Ibn Hajar, and it became like that. So if you want your child to be like a learned person, look for a learned person of Sunnah. Go and take residence near him. Bi'idhnillah, the breeze will blow into your house by the permission of Allah and with your good intention and good effort, inshallah. I hope that is brief for that second.
Salawatullah alaikum ya Shaykh. Another question reads, Assalamu alaikum, sir. What should one do in terms of meeting the sexual needs of two wives in separate countries because of the husband's job? He will spend more days or months with one residing where he works.
Brothers, don't joke with your women and their needs. Be sure to visit them. You are the one. It is not the problem of the women. It is the problem of the men. You must be sure to meet her needs. If she can only wait for a week, make sure you are able to see her every week so that she does not lose chastity, whether immediately or in the long run. Don't bring your wife into a fitna. The basic rule about this amongst the scholars is that it depends on every woman. If the woman can be patient for a week, no problem. You can go for a week and return for another week. If she can be patient for 2 weeks, you can remain with her for 2 weeks. You can go leave her for 2 weeks. If she can be patient for a month, if she can be patient for 2 months, it depends on every woman. There is no clear-cut report from the Prophet ﷺ about for how long you can leave a woman. They are all estimates. The report of Umar was an estimate. You can go back to Al-Mughni by Imam Ibn Qudama Al-Maqdisi. He was extensive regarding it. There is no standard gauge. It depends on what the woman can tolerate. So if she can tolerate 1 month, you can stay 1 month away, then 1 month with your wife. If she can tolerate 2 months, if she can tolerate 3 months, it depends on how much you can tolerate vis-a-vis the time that you have. But don't take it for granted. Ikhwa, don't take it for granted. We have heard a lot of stories. We hear a lot of stories about these evils. It either destroys that woman, turns her to become unchaste. Yes, we have cases where women were unchaste. There are cases. The woman will become unchaste. Or that she will lose interest in the marriage. Or that her religion will begin to dwindle. Her deen will begin to dwindle. Her deen will begin to dwindle. Why? Because most of what she'll be doing is to get busy with social media. Even if she goes to the madrasa, she returns home. She has nobody to relate with. She starts pressing the phone, and there's nobody who has demand from shaitan. Shaitan can deceive anybody into anything. So if you want to marry 2 wives and keep them in separate places, be sure that your action does not end up destroying any one of the women. Make sure that your action does not end up destroying any one of the women. If you are keeping them in different countries, you have to travel to that country, come back to that country. Your job is not more important than the deen of your wife. Your job is not more important than the deen of your wife. You have a choice. You either choose the job or you choose her deen. But don't marry a person's daughter and then you place her deen at stake because of your own job. So she can lose her deen because you want to protect your own dunya. Your job is about your dunya. So don't let your own search for dunya become a danger for her own deen. Women too, be careful. But unfortunately, many of the women, once they hear that a brother is in the UK, they quickly jump onto it. A brother is from US, they quickly jump onto it. In the end, he may not be able to take you to that UK or US. Why? He already has a wife on his visa. So you are not a wife that can come on the visa because those countries are strict regarding those kinds of laws. So brothers, be ready to make the sacrifice for your decision. So if you live in those kinds of countries and you decide to marry a second wife or a third wife, you must be ready to sacrifice for your decision. Otherwise, leave people's children alone. Leave people's daughters alone. Don't marry them and then you bring them into fitna. May Allah protect all of us. Men, try to balance up. Balance up. Don't leave your wives for too long. Even those who are living in the country, Nigeria, in one part of the country to another part of the country, it may become a problem. Not to say you have to travel 5, 6 hours, 10 hours. If you are going to the US, about 16 hours across the Atlantic before she sees you again 3, 4, 5 months. That's a very, very big, dangerous thing. Ikhwa, don't live a life that endangers the chastity and the deen of your wives. I beg Allah to protect all of us. Allahu Akbar. Amin wa iyyakum. You have one more question we can take as the last questions for today.
Naam, ya Sheikh.
Now,
it reads, please, could you explain the concept of ilham? And is it an attainable level by the believer as a blessing from Allah?
Al-ilhamat, now, from the aspects of that is ar-ru'yatu sadiqah. It will also go under that. When you see true dreams, something happens because the dreams are also means of passing information across to us. And that's why the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that that's the only thing that is remaining from an-nubuwah. The only thing remaining from an-nubuwah is al-mubasharat. Sweet, good dreams. True dreams. Ar-ru'ya sadiqah. Dreams that are true, dreams that are real. So they are also means by which Allah communicates to the people. That is from the general meaning of al-ilham. There are things that Allah makes you know. He tells you about it. He gives you information about it. He gives you a knowledge of it. And just like good dreams, it can be for anybody. Just like good dreams is a general gift. Allah gives it to whomever He wills. But both the dreams and ilham, if you want to separate them, they have a basic rule regarding them. Please note this. Your dream cannot turn halal to haram. Brother, note this. Women, anybody who usually see dreams, your dream cannot tell you that halal is haram. Like you say, you see in your dream that you should not be drinking alcohol. And your own dreams always come true. Take note of that. Dreams cannot turn halal to haram. Dreams cannot turn halal to haram. They cannot also turn haram to what? To halal for you. Why? You see good dreams. Please note this as a basic rule regarding these issues. Allahu Alam, Abā Abdurrahman. Can we call it a day here today?
Ya Shaykhana, Jazakumullah khair.
And if someone is asking about dreams, telling dreams to somebody, we have discussed dreams a lot. And I think it's sufficient. You can go back to the previously recorded classes about dreams. Allahu Akbar. We can call it a day here today, Abā Abdurrahman.
Ya Shaykhana, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.